So this is actually the room that we are supposed to be doing this lecture. You can see it there. Pa Sam will just show a bit the room. Yeah, see, you can see how fun and interesting the room is. It's very cozy, very convenient. You can have that, the select couch on the floor. Most students are actually really enjoying this place because it seems like we're doing a group discussion rather than having a very formal classroom type. So this was actually very well designed by Pa Sam himself. He's the man behind this room along with Pa Wincha. Right, there it is. So it's very convenient. And then as the freshman leader can probably share with you their experience later on, that in BINUS we have a learning style where you can have fun integrated to your learning program. So you sometimes, we also allow you to take drinks and food there, so you don't feel like you are forced to study and forced to listen to us, all right? And then we don't really place ourselves as someone who knows like a formal lecture, but we place ourselves as your teammate, as your colleague, so you can also always come to us and then you know, talk with us. Yeah. And then we also have Pa Michael in the house. Hello, Pa Michael. Show off screen, please. You want to show your video, or you want to show how yeah, you've met Pa Michael, I think. Yeah. But you will also be meeting him again tomorrow. No, later on at 1 o'clock. All right. So shall we start now? Let me just share my screen. We are going to be talking about still introduction to business information system. For today, I was given the task to give you some introduction of the intermediate MS Excel, Microsoft Excel. Can you see my screen? Yes? Some voices, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right, so we shall begin. We have now the intermediate MS Excel. As you can see on the right screen, you can actually make that using MS Excel. But we're not going to go there. Later on, Pa Sam and Pa Michael will be the one who will be the expert in leading you how to make those kind of stuff. But now, let's see. So when you think of Microsoft Excel, what is the first things that come into your mind? Can you share with me via chat? What do you think the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of MS Excel? You can start writing in. Okay, I can see organizing data, column, what else? Money, wow, okay. What else can I see here? Economy, yes, what else? What comes into your mind when the first time you hear or someone is saying, okay, let's open up a Microsoft Excel? Analysts, accounting. All right, okay, so you've got all that. You also have to remember sometimes it deals with spreadsheets, workbooks, yeah, those type of stuff. All right, so let me go back again to my screen. Okay. Yeah, so all of the keywords that you mentioned just now are very right. It offers plenty of scope for project that goes beyond its extended use. But you also know that in Microsoft Excel, there are also awesome projects. As I mentioned on the first screen, you can make that type of drawing using Excel. Somebody has made a Sudoku solver and generator using Excel. And then there is also a traditional slide puzzle. This is using combination of macros. And then you can also make a GIF file. Yeah. This is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle GIF. And then you can also make this kind of drawing using Excel, a grumpy cat in Excel pixels, or even a working flight simulator. These all were produced using Excel, okay? But that would be, as you know, today we are more talking about the intermediate rather than the very advanced stuff. So I'm just going to go through the basic first, the chart, the formulas, the function, working with the data. And then at the end, I will make you into some small groups, and then you can practice with your groups. I'm going to give you some exercise, and then you can just open up your Microsoft Excel. And then you can try to, you know, explore more. I assume that everyone has Microsoft Excel, right? Okay. So let's talk about how we get familiarized first with the Excel workspace. As I mentioned, there is a spreadsheets which are displayed in a grid layout. And then we have the column heading. You can see on top usually the letters, the A, B, C, and then all the way until A, A, B, B. Then you can just highlight the column, click on any letters. And then if you go on the left part, on the rows, you can see numbers. The exact numbers of row and column in Excel is this number here. Yeah, okay, so many numbers. And then the cell is a letter combined with the number. So if you combine the column and the row, you get like, let's see, the B column and the row 5, so B5. I'm sure everyone who has tried Excel knows this. So this is just, you know, a reminder for you in case you forget what Excel is. So, and then you have a workbook. This is another word for your Excel file. It automatically creates a blank workbook every time you open it. And then you also have a worksheet where it is a collection of cells that you keep and manipulate the data, right? And then, yeah, as I mentioned, they have the, here, on the column and on the row, they have a letter on the column, and then they have a row, they have a number on the row. So you just type in anything here, and then you hit the enter keyboard, and then it's going to show up. It goes automatically down or automatically to the right. You can input text, numbers. You can have any type of number format to distinguish the different types of number, and you can also change a different type of format like the currency, the percentage, and the dates. You can select the cells that have the numbers that you want to format, right? And then you can go back to the home tab and then click the arrow in the general box and then pick a number format like this. And you can also take advantage of using the autocomplete. So let's say you want to have the entire days of the week. You just click in the first one as Monday, and then you drag it to the right. And then it's going to complete the full days of the week. So it has this type of automatic function, automatic complete, automatic fill. Yeah, and then it can correct it directly in case you messed up, you forgot that what comes after Tuesday. If you think, it's Thursday, better to just make this autocomplete because it's going to autocorrect you directly, right? And then the column and the row fitting, on the home, you can find the cell group, and then on the cell size, you can also have an auto-fit column width, so you don't have to, you know, manually adjust it yourself. You can select the row, and then you can also auto-fit the row height. So all this you can automatically make it adjusted to how it's supposed to be in the table, so you don't have to manually measure it yourself, right? Okay, and then we also have the advantage of if you have so many big data, and then you just want to see some part of it that you want to be focusing on, then you can freeze you can freeze the window. You can freeze the pane. You just go panes. You can just go to the view, and then later on you have this selection, the freeze panes. You can select either you freeze the panes or you just freeze the top row where you usually have the heading. Or you can freeze just the first column if you want to, if you have the data going to the right side. Oh, right. And then you can also split how you want to view it. So you can have a comparison between one particular data and the other one. So you can see here, there's a split window here, so you can make a comparison using this as well. Okay, and then you can insert and then delete cells, delete row. If you are deleting a cells or changing it, You can just simply use the menu. So everything actually is already available. All you have to do is just click and click and click, and just get yourself familiar, which we will do that later on. And then you can also, if you have so many data, you want to sort and filter the panel, you can also click the sort. If you want to, you know, make it from A to Z alphabetically, or you want to go the other way around, you can sort this. Or you want to filter a data that you want to have only a specific, let's say somebody between the age of this and this. So you can also make this type of a filter using this. Yeah. And then like Office, like Words, PowerPoint, you can also add chart or graph in Excel. You have to select a data source first that contain the data that you want to display in the chart. You have the data series, the series name, the series value category like this. You first input it first, and then it's going to generate its chart. And then moving and resizing chart. By default, a chart is inserted as an embedded chart, which means that the chart is placed in the worksheet next to its data source. So if you put it here, and then it's going to automatically appear on the right side. And then you can also place a chart in a chart sheet. In the location group on the chart tools tab, you can also click the move chart button, so it can, you know, be placed wherever you wish to have it viewed. And then there's also this layout option for the design tab. You can add the chart element here. These are the type of chart element that you can actually select, whether you want to have a title, you want to have a label, you want to have it as a bar, or you also want to include a trend line or even an explanation or a legend. Yeah. The type of data, they have the label, the constant, and you can also put formula in it. The label is anything that is just a text, or whatever you want to label it. A constant is any type of number you want to input. A formula is a math equation, so you can actually put some kind of like a magic calculator with Excel, where you can put your formula. If you want to have some column added by another column, you want to have the total or the amount, then you can do that in formula. So formula is basically a math equation that calculates a value to be displayed, but you have to put the equal sign in the beginning of the first character. So usually in a usual math, you put A plus B equals something. Then in a formula, then you have to put the equal sign in the beginning, because this equal sign, it actually tells Excel what the formula is. So without you putting the equal sign in the beginning, then the formula will not calculate anything. It will just simply display a simple text of formula. Yeah. So this is the type of formula that you can use. You can use a multiplication formula. You can use a division, or you can also pick a column and a row, and then you want to, let's say, have a percentage, and then you can just, you know, just divide it into some kind of other value. Yeah, so this is the type of formula that I'm talking about. You have to put the equal sign in the beginning first, and then you just select which column or row that you want to be multiplied with, or divided with, or addition with, subtract with. Yeah, it's easy if you can memorize this, but if not, then it's also available. Right? Okay, so this is just a basic formula, just a simple video that we're gonna watch. I hope it works this time. Let's check. Let me know if you can hear the sound.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
Thank you.
You may already have some experience creating simple formulas that have only one type of operation. But sometimes you have to create more complex formulas that do have more than one operator, for example, addition and multiplication. To do this correctly, you'll need to understand how Excel is calculating the answer. When solving formulas, Excel uses a set of rules called the order of operations, which you might remember from math class. The order of operations determines the order in which the formula will be calculated, so you know exactly how to write it out. The first thing that's calculated are any equations in parentheses. Then, if you have any exponents, you'll calculate those. Next is multiplication and division. And finally, addition and subtraction. Excel knows to use the order of operations whenever it calculates a complex formula. It's important that you remember it so you can create formulas that'll give you the correct answer. To remember the order, you can just use the acronym PEMDAS. Or to make it even easier, remember the phrase, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." Let's take a closer look at some examples. In this formula, 5 plus 2 is in parentheses, so we'll calculate that first to get 7, and then we can just multiply 3 times 7 to get 21. This formula contains an exponent, 3 to the power of 2. We'll need to calculate that first, and then we can do the addition. If you have multiplication or division, that'll come next. Here we multiply 2 times 4 to get 8, and 9 minus 8 equals 1. Now multiplication and division are considered to be on the same level. That means if you have both of them in your formula, they're calculated from left to right. In this example, we'll do the division first, and then the multiplication. If we wanted the multiplication to happen first, we could just put it in parentheses, or we could rearrange the formula so the multiplication was on the left. Finally, we have addition and subtraction. Just like multiplication and division, these are on the same level, so we'll calculate them from left to right. Okay, now let's put them all together. This formula may look really complicated, but we're just going to go step by step through the order of operations, and you'll see that it's really not that bad. We'll start with the parentheses. We'll calculate each of these to get 2 and 3. And as you can see, the formula is already starting to look a bit simpler. Next, we'll look to see if there are any exponents in this formula. There is one, 2 to the second power. When we calculate it, it becomes 4. Next, we'll do the multiplication and division, going from left to right. And now all that's left is addition. And that gives us our answer, which is 8.75. And that's the same answer Excel would give you if you entered that formula in your worksheet. Now I'm going to show you why it's so important that you follow the order of operations every time. If you don't, your formulas won't give you the correct answer. In this example, I'd like to add these 3 values and find out how much the sales tax will be. I'll start by typing the equal sign, which is how you always start a formula. Then I'll calculate D3 plus D4 plus D5. Next, I'll multiply by 0.075, which is the tax rate at 7.5%. Now, this may look like it's going to give us the correct answer, but it's not. That's because we didn't follow the order of operations. Remember, multiplication comes before addition, so Excel is going to multiply D5 by 0.075 first. Then it'll add D3 and D4, which isn't what we want. We want these 3 values to be added first. So to do that, we just need to put them in parentheses. Parentheses are often the best way of controlling which parts of the formula are calculated first. And when this formula is calculated, we can see that the answer is $20.56. Writing complex formulas really isn't that difficult once you know how they work. Just remember to use the order of operations and you'll get the correct answer every time.
All right, so remember to use the correct order of operation. So now the next one is, this is the relative references. By default, all cell references are the relative references. But when you copy it around across the multiple cells, then they will change based on the relative position of the row and the column. For example, if you copy the formula, the A1 and the B1 column from row 1 to 2, the formula will become A2 plus B2. So relative reference, this is special. You can use this if you want to repeat the same calculation across multiple row or column. And then there are also times where you don't want a cell reference to change when you're filling in the cell. You can use the absolute reference if you don't want to change anything that is copied or filled. You can use this. You can use the absolute reference to refer to the same cell. This is usually used with the $sign. So you use this $sign when the columns and the row do not change when copied. So you don't want anything to be copied. You can just use the $sign. And if you use this, then the row does not change when you copy it. Or you can also use it in the beginning, then the column does not change when it is copied. Okay, conditioning formatting. Conditioning formatting is a color scales. So this is more rules. You can see a clear rules from the entire sheet, like this. And then the format, it format only cells that contain less than 50. You can have also the format button and then fill the tab and choose the color which you want to format. Okay. And then we've learned about formula. Now we're going to learn about function. So the difference between a formula and a function is, a formula is an expression that calculates the value of a cell, while a function is a predefined formula that is already available in Excel. So most function is like the sum, average, count, max or min. All right. This is how we can try to enter a function one. Next to the formula bar, you'll see an FX button. This is the formula wizard. So when you click the FX button, you will see the insert function dialog box has appeared like this. So if you click this FX button, then this will appear, the insert function. So yeah, so as I mentioned, you remember the formula where you have to put a equal sign A1 plus B1 or something like that. But if you use a function, it's there already, so you don't have to memorize it. This is entering a function too. Another way to enter a function in Excel is through panel on the ribbon. You click a cell B9 on the spreadsheet, and then we'll place an average for A1 to A8, like this. This is the function library. And then if you click the function on top of the Excel, then this will appear, the function library. This is when you want to also select what you want to do with it, whether you want to count the average or count the numbers, or you want to have the min or the max value in it. As you can see, it's split into categories. The average function is in few places. This is the easiest way to use the average, is the outer sum. Okay. Okay, this is how you use the average. If you go to the insert function and then you just select the average, it's going to directly give you the average of the column and the row that you have selected. Okay, there's also a min and max. A min and max, it returns the maximum and the minimum number from the array or table. So let's just see how it is. Okay, we've learned the formula, now we've learned the function.
Excel has a really powerful and convenient feature called functions. A function is a predefined formula, and it's used when a formula would be too complicated or just too long. You can access them from the Formulas tab.
Is it pause?
We can see the video.
You can see the video, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
There are hundreds of functions that you can choose from, and they're organized.
Can you see it now?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Excel has a really powerful and convenient feature called functions. A function is a predefined formula, and it's used when a formula would be too complicated or just too long. You can access them from the Formulas tab. There are hundreds of functions that you can choose from, and they're organized by category in the function library. For example, the financial category contains functions that deal with things like interest and monthly payments. The text category allows you to convert text to lowercase or uppercase, replace text, and do other types of text manipulation. Date and time includes functions that return the current date, time, day of the week, and others. And there are many more functions. Much of the time, though, you'll just need to use common functions such as sum and average, and you can access these by clicking the Auto Sum drop-down arrow. In this example, I'd like to add all of these cells. If I tried to create a formula for this, I would have to add each one individually, and that would get pretty long, and if I had to add hundreds of cells, then it would really not be manageable at all. So I'm just going to add them by using a function. Click on the cell where you want the function to be, and then click on the Auto Sum drop-down arrow and select Sum. Now this has inserted the function, and it's also selected the cells that are being added. If it selects the wrong cells, then we can always change that by dragging these corner handles. But this looks right, so I'll press Enter to get the result. Let's look at this function in a little bit more detail. Just like formulas, functions always start with the equals sign. But you might notice that there are no mathematical operators such as addition or subtraction like you would normally see in a formula. Instead, functions have a specific syntax that includes the name of the function followed by one or more arguments in parentheses. The arguments tell the function which cells or numbers to use to calculate the result. In this example, we actually only have one argument, even though there are two different cell references. This is called a range of cells. A range of cells is indicated by two cell references separated by a colon. In this case, the range consists of all the cells from F6 to F14. If you want to use more than one argument, you'll need to separate them with commas. Let's try a different function now. In this example, we have a column for the date that each item was ordered and the date that it was received. And I'd like to know how many business days it took to receive the item after it was ordered. First, select the cell where you want the function to go. And if you know which category your function is in, you can select it from there, or you can just search for the function by clicking the Insert Function command. Just type in a description of what you're looking for. I'm looking for a function that can count the number of days elapsed, so I'll type count days and press Enter. We've gotten a lot of different results here. You can click on a function and read a description of it below. Net workdays returns the number of workdays between two dates, and that's what we want. So I'll click OK. There will be a field for each argument, and this function has up to 3 arguments: the start date, end date, and holidays. When you click in each field, you can see a description of it below. And if you need more help on a particular function, you can click Help on this function. I'll select G6 for the start date, H6 for the end date, and the holidays argument is optional, so I'll just leave it blank. And you'll be able to see the result here. Click OK, and the function will be added to the worksheet. Just like with formulas, we can drag the fill handle to copy it. And now we can see how long it took each of these items to arrive. If you've never used functions before, the syntax may seem a little strange at first, but with some practice, you'll start to get the hang of it, and over time, you'll probably find your favorite functions that you'll use over and over again.
Absolutely free.
All right. So We've learned about the function. Now we learn about the true. We are going to learn about the true, false, and the if function. Now this if function, this will allow you to make a logical comparison between a value and what you expect. So this is the logical comparison. Let's say if something is true, then you have to do something, otherwise do something else. So an if statement, it can have two results. The first result, if the comparison is true, then the second, if the comparison is false. The true and false is automatically calculated by Excel. So this is an example. Let's say if A1 and B1 is the same, then it should be true. But if it contains a different value, then it should give an answer false. Okay. Okay, this is another example involving operation. This if statement is a true or false. You can also use the Boolean logic. This allows us to understand if a statement is true or false. Our first example was the true and false in an action was high level. Now look at a simpler example. Let's see here, for instance, if we have a logical expression into a cell as a formula, it can give you the result like this. If this expression, then you have this formula, it's going to give you the result as true. If 1 is bigger than 0, it's true. If the expression, if A is similar with B, then it should be false. So all this expression, you type into the formula, then it will give a result. Okay, now this is how you want to use the formula. It has no narrative, someone talking, so you just watch as a given video. You can do many things using Excel. It helps your life easier. There's also another option where you can also goal seek. Now, so you know the result of a calculation, but you don't know either of the value. This is a simple example. So you know that 7 times something is 56. So you type the calculation with the cell reference. Let's say the B8 multiplied by the C8, the result will be 7 multiplied by 0, which is 0. But you want to change the result to 56. So you can select a cell that contains the formula. In this case, it's the D8. So you click the data tab, and then you use this what if analysis, and then you also choose a goal seek. You don't usually use this, but it's good to know that you also have this type of option. Okay, that was the simple example. Now I have a more complicated example. If you want to recalculate, let's say, a loan payment example by changing the length of the payment, and then you want to change the payment. HUF is a Hungary currency. And then you want to repeat the exercise. So this is more a complicated example, but this is just to let you know that with Excel, you can use from the most simple type of calculation to the even more complicated type of sample. I have a very short video on this if you want to know how you can be also using this goal seek. Also, this has no narrative, so this is just showing you how you can use this goal seek. So you can use this for any of your math classes.
Apologies, Bule. But is it not having voice, or do we have voice?
No, it's not having voice.
Okay,
It's just
sorry.
yeah. This is just telling you if you want to have you already have a set of you already have the answer, but you want to know how you want to get to reach that. And this is just one of the advantage of having this Excel. You can have the what if analysis. So sometimes you wonder in life, what happened if this happened, okay? But now if you have a calculation, you want to know a what if analysis, then you can also use this, okay? And then now we also have a tool of the VLOOKUP. This is an Excel function to look up and retrieve data from a specific column in the table. This supports the approximate and the exact matching, and also the wildcards for partial matches. This V stands for vertical. So, okay, so it must appear in the first column of the table, and then the lookup column to the right. So this is more an advanced Excel that we're looking for. Later on, I'm going to give you this open practice, but I've already put all the practices in one Excel slide, so I'm going to give that out to you later on. Okay, so this would be later what type of exercise that you will be looking for, trying to explore it in Excel, right? This is how you can use the VLOOKUP.
VLOOKUP is one of Excel's most powerful lookup functions. If your data is organized into vertical columns, you can use the VLOOKUP function to search for a value in the first column of your data table and return a corresponding value from another column. The easiest way to understand this function is to look at an example, so let's get started. Here we have a table of data containing order information. We can use VLOOKUP to locate a product based on a particular order ID value. To get started, let's begin by entering the VLOOKUP command. As you can see, the VLOOKUP function takes 4 parameters. The first parameter we will enter is the value that we are trying to locate in the first column of the table. In our example, we want to search for order ID number 10251. The second parameter we will need to enter is the table or source of the data VLOOKUP will use. The range provided must include both the first column that will be searched for our first parameter value and the column containing our hopeful result. You will provide either a range of cells or a named range for this parameter. For example, we will enter the range A1 to B6. The third parameter we must enter is the position number in the table where the return value can be found. A value of 1 indicates the first column in the table, a value of 2 indicates a second column, and so on. Since we are looking for the name of a product, we will enter a 2, which represents cells B1 to B6. Finally, and most importantly, is VLOOKUP's fourth parameter. This parameter determines whether an exact match or an approximate match will be done when looking for the first parameter. A value of false means that VLOOKUP is looking for an exact match. A value of true means that an approximate or close match will be returned. Unless you have a specific reason for looking for an approximate match, you should always use false to return an exact match. Otherwise, the VLOOKUP could return some unexpected results. Now that we have entered all of VLOOKUP's parameters, let's complete the command to examine the result. You should see the product name pairs appear. Pairs is the product name that corresponds to the order ID number 10251 that we searched for. This covers a simple example of how to use Excel's VLOOKUP function. If you would like to see more VLOOKUP examples or would like to download the sample data we used for this tutorial, please visit our website at techonthenet.com.
All right, so that's the VLOOKUP. You can also play with that later on. There's also the pivot table. You can insert this using from the insert menu, and then you can select the pivot chart and bar. And then this is just the step-by-step on how you can also use the pivot table. You can label the data, you can change the pivot table, you can add any type of category into the row. Okay, now this is I'm just showing you a very, very small, simple video on the pivot table.
A pivot table is a tool in Excel that allows you to quickly summarize data in your spreadsheet. To illustrate how to create a pivot table, let's look at a simple example. Here we have a table of data containing order information. Let's use a pivot table to summarize this information and display the total quantity for each order. To get started, highlight the cell where you'd like to create the pivot table. In this example, we've selected cell A1 on sheet 2. Next, select the Insert tab from the toolbar at the top of the screen. In the Tables group, click on the Pivot Table button. A window called Create Pivot Table should appear. Select the range of data for the pivot table. In this example, we'll select cells A1 to F16 in sheet 1. This will be the source of data for the pivot table. Now click on the OK button. A blank pivot table should now appear on sheet 2 of your spreadsheet. Next, we will choose the fields to add to the pivot table. To add order ID and quantity, select the checkboxes next to these fields. By default, these fields are added to the pivot table as summed values. Since we would rather see each order ID individually as a row in our pivot table, we will drag Sum of Order ID from the Values section to the Rows section. Now each order ID is displayed as a row in the pivot table. However, Excel has defaulted the title in cell A1 to say Row Labels. Let's change the title to something more meaningful, such as Order ID. Our pivot table now shows all of the order information summarized. We can see the order ID values displayed in rows with the total quantity for each order. This completes our example of how to create a pivot table in Excel. If you would like to see more examples or would like to download the sample, if you have found our tutorial helpful for more great Excel tutorials.
Okay, so that's the pivot table. So as you can see, you can use that if later on you have a business and you would like to have, you have so many big data, or you have different information and you want to have it filtered according to your need, then you can just select whatever that you need and then create it into the pivot table. It can directly sort out the type of information that you're looking for, okay? And now this is almost entering the last part. There's also macros in Microsoft Excel. You can have, you probably have different tasks that you want to do repeatedly. You can read macro to automate this task. So a macro is is an action or a set of action that you can run as many times as you want. So when you create this macro, you are recording your mouse clicks on the keystroke. So you probably will have this be useful for you when you are later on performing more advanced Excel, right? So this is when you want to try to conditional formatting an average. You want to record the macro. Let's just see the sample.
When using Excel, do you sometimes say to yourself, here I go again, as you repeat a frequently used command sequence or a series of steps? If so, you need to learn how macros can automate these steps. Let's take a look at a few examples based on the idea that any series of steps you take manually could be turned into a single-step macro. In this example, we're looking at a worksheet called Current Staff. Now, let's start with something just basic and small. First of all, if I want to make this cell here be underlined, I'll have the Home tab active. I'll click Underline. Not a big deal there. Maybe I'll do this in different cells. Now, if there were no underlining button, what would I do? I'd probably have to figure out that we'd click this button here. We'd have to click the Font tab if it wasn't already clicked. And then we'd find underline in this drop arrow and maybe choose a different type here, but let's say single underlining. We'd click that. Now, almost anybody who uses Excel learns early on that there is an underlining button. So the idea might say, well, isn't this like a macro? Yes, it is. We don't call our buttons in the ribbon macros, but in a certain sense they are. Practically every button that we use is a shortcut for a series of steps. Whether it's bold, italic, underline, the frequently used ones, or others. How about the idea that maybe in this organization here, when someone leaves the group, you don't immediately remove their name, but what you do instead is you highlight the data in question and you apply strike through. And one way to do this, of course, is to click this arrow, the dialog box launcher, in the font group of the Home tab. And then on the Font tab, you'll see strike through. Click OK. Now, if you start to use that feature a lot, you're going to get a little annoyed here and there because it's just too many clicks. Then one day, some wise guy tells you, by the way, there's a keystroke shortcut for this. It's Control 5. Now, in a certain sense, that embodies the idea of a macro. And it even goes a step further because it's a toggle action. Control 5 will apply or take off strike through. So the concept of a macro, in a certain sense, is already embedded or embodied by the idea of the buttons that we've got familiar with over the years in using Excel. And so the